power, an anti-Christian view, it ends up seeking to silence the gospel. It was true in the case of Baal worship in Israel. First, it's like, okay, give a little room to it. In the end, you have Jezebel and Ahab trying to stamp out and hunt down the prophets of God. It was true in communism in Russia. First, hey, listen to our ideas. Then what happens? We will stamp out every other idea. It was true in the case of Nazism, everything. The progression is this, listen. First, there's a biblical worldview that is it's established in the culture, it's absolute, it's near universally accepted. It's the foundation of culture, government, discourse, everything. And that which is against this biblical morality is on the extreme fringe, nearly universally condemned, seen as immoral, evil, contraband, even illegal. It exists in the shadows, in the closets, it's the fringe. In ancient Israel, it was the worship of Baal and the gods. In America, it was atheism, it was sexual immorality, it was anti-biblical morality. Next stage. The anti-biblical worldview begins to make itself known with calls for toleration. The biblical view is still nearly universal, but not quite totally as absolute as it once was. Next stage. The anti-biblical worldview is now no longer necessarily illegal, but the culture accepts that it exists. It's still disfavored, but it's more in the public eye. The biblical view is now still the main view, still preeminent, but it's not absolute. It's not seen as absolute anymore. It's less and less established. It's less and less joined to the state. The next stage. What was anti-biblical moves from the extreme fringe to the periphery of mainstream culture. Begins to make inroads. More calls go forth to accept it and view it as one of many truths, a minority truth, but one of many. The biblical view is still prevalent and still the accepted majority view, but now it's seen as one of many truths or one of many views. Next stage. What was anti-biblical is more and more championed as a cause. The biblical view, though seen as the majority, is now seen more on the defensive, moving out of the mainstream, increasingly as seen as intolerant. The two views are seen as two truths, no real absolute truth anymore. Next stage, the anti-biblical view now begins to push past the tipping point, from a minority view to a majority view. The biblical view is now clearly on the defensive, increasingly viewed as intolerant. It's tolerated, but with increasing disfavor. Next stage, the anti-biblical view is not only one of many views, increasingly it's the prevailing view. It becomes established in the center of culture. The biblical view is now increasingly disestablished, separated not only from the state, but from mainstream culture, moving towards the periphery. It's viewed increasingly with disfavor and hostility, more and more as a fringe, stigmatized, marginalized. And the next stage, the anti-biblical morality is now fully established. It has the consensus of mainstream culture, joined even to government. It is now preeminent. It now seeks to stamp out everything that opposes it or does not agree with it. The biblical morality is now vilified, legislated against, increasingly becomes as contraband illegal. That which is anti-biblical now fully seeks to stamp out any vestige of opposition or non-agreement it will not tolerate. And it will not be satisfied until it drives what is of God into the shadows, into the closet, into non-existence, until it is stamped out. Recently, it came out that American soldiers at Fort Hood were instructed that evangelical Christians were a threat to the nation. At Camp Shelby in Mississippi, it was told that all pro-family beliefs are hateful. Even in West Point here, where they spoke about the American Family Association, a Christian organization, as being a hate organization. In one of these organizations that calls anything Christian hateful, somebody who worked with them went to the Family Research Institute, led by Tony Perkins, and went there and started trying to gun down everybody. This is where this ends. Recently, Costco labeled the Bible as fiction. A recent survey by the Liberty Institute found that incidents of hostility against American Christians have doubled in just 1 year. What did the Maccabees do? They were persecuted. They refused to go along with they refused to disappear. And they refused to go into the shadows. They said, no, not only will we not go along with it, we will stand. And as Elijah, we will not be defined by this culture. Hey, remember, Ahab went to Elijah and said, Elijah, you are the troubler. You're the one who troubles Israel. Elijah said, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to accept that at all. You're the one who's troubling Israel. I'm standing with God. You're not. Elijah would not be defined by the culture around him. It didn't matter what they were saying because they were wrong. Doesn't matter if the whole majority comes against you. If they're wrong, it doesn't matter. The Maccabees didn't try to adopt, they didn't try to adapt with it, they didn't try to make peace with the apostasy, they didn't try to incorporate it, they didn't try to find a peaceful way with it. I mean, peaceful to people, but not to evil. Recently, a ministry that helped people get out of a homosexual lifestyle said they were tired of fighting, they closed their doors, and they apologized for their ministry. Thank God the Maccabees didn't get tired and they didn't apologize for God. They took a stand, they stood up for God, they counted it as an honor to stand for God, especially when in an age when everything is against God, it's a double honor. So you too. Stand. Don't make deals with the devil. Don't compromise with evil. Don't bend. Don't start moving your markers because of the culture. It doesn't matter. The book of Revelation says the enemy will war against the saints.